Famous picture there. How are you?
There he is. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. And yourself?
Yeah, where are you? You don't look like you're in the Malta office. So you are though, aren't you?
No, I'm in Mauritius. No, Mauritius.
Ah, right, okay. Blimey.
Yeah.
So
Yes, yes, yeah.
do you only live places that begin with the letter M then these days?
Well, I started in Monaco, so yeah, maybe. But I think I've lived, Gary, in 10 different countries. So I've lived in obviously the UK. I say obviously, I lived in the UK, Switzerland, Bratislava, Slovakia. Yeah,
Blimey.
UAE. Done a few. I don't know if you use TripIt, do you?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, great.
Okay, so I've used it for 10 years. And I did look at it yesterday. And okay, I've been around the world nearly 10 times per year for 10 years.
Wow. That's incredible. What is it about the travel? I mean, look, I hate airplanes. I can't stand being in a tube in the sky. What is it about travel that and let's start this thing. Let's have a bit of an informal start. We always do that
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
get into the
Well,
serious stuff. But
it's good.
what is it about, travel that's kind of hooked you in? Because it feels that you seem to love it. You like being in you like the fact it's a big round globe. What is it about travel?
I mean, I must admit, sorry, Gary, I'm going to insult you now. But I was an arrogant southerner. I thought the world finished in, London, Watford. Watford, you fell off the end of the world. So I was in the UK in financial services, built a successful office. Rural life was a part of my career. And then I got persuaded internationally. And then once I realized, oh, wow, okay, there's a big world out there. So I wouldn't say it was particularly that I wanted to travel. Interestingly, I actually failed at geography at school as well, by the way. Got unclassified. How bad's that? I probably couldn't name the biggest cities in the world. And yeah, I got fascinated by the international financial services industry. I mean, literally fascinated by it. And there's so many different countries. And I must admit, when I travel, I get ideas. So, even sometimes I've got to travel, but when you land, even if you're tired, you come out with something, it mixes the brain up somewhere. So I think it's massive for growth, mindset, development. So everybody should travel. There you go. There's an advert for you.
Let's talk about recruitment and more importantly, retention. Because I think
Yep.
people forget that. They talk about recruitment, but they don't necessarily always talk about retention.
Agreed.
Why is it sort of central to a successful business? And how have you managed to stop this churning of staff, if you have managed to do it? Tell me
I
what the
think
secret is.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a challenge. There's a number of different things that people face if they go international. So first of all, you are away from home. So it sounds easy, but as you well know, once you start traveling, you miss things. And you miss things you didn't expect to miss. Hot dogs. But you do. You suddenly go, oh wow, I wish I was at Chelsea having a hot dog. So I think it's just helping people settle in because we talk about turnover. One of the biggest turnovers is you not only got a new job, but you're in a new country. So can you help people settle in? Can you help them make friends? Can you help them get into the right environment? And then same as when you're training anybody, how can you help that person develop, feel success, get those stepping stones? Because if you're getting lots of wins, you obviously it builds your confidence. If you're getting lots of losses, obviously the opposite. And then in the company, you're trying to retain the good people. You don't mind losing people that are not so good, eh? So how can you do that? How can you concentrate on those, build those relationships? Because when you do lose people, it is usually a relationship goes. You'll see today 75% of people who work for deVere have been over 10 years. So there's a core there that have been retained and that nucleus continues to grow. So relationships is the big one and helping people succeed.
That's an interesting start because that's quite high, isn't it? But the interesting part about that is I've met dozens of people in other companies that have all started in deVere, right? So, and they're all, these are usually successful people that I talk to.
Yeah.
So, how does that sort of make you feel that, people have have gone on and had great successes? Do you stay in touch? Are you still friendly, or is it you're out the door, forget it?
Yes, I mean, I'm very much focused on the people that work with me, I must confess. Um, you obviously, I get complimented with it and I get criticized with it. So people say, "Do you realize you've created the financial services industry? Over 50% of the people were originally from you." So is that a compliment? I think it is. Not everybody. You're on the northbound train. Some people want to get off at Leeds. Why would you get off at Leeds? Some people do. So I think, you go in a particular direction. That doesn't mean it's everybody's direction. So let's talk about discipline as an example. I believe in structure. So I believe it's better to have an office and to have people in and work together. Some people don't like that. Some people prefer and would like to do less. So that's a different direction. I'm not saying everybody's been in that particular situation, but it's an example. So I think you have to realize, particularly when you have a strong direction, that can be successful, but there's going to be some people that want a different direction, and that's fine. And I don't have to have a chat to them afterwards, let them crack on. But I'll concentrate on the people that are with me. It's like somebody leaves Manchester United and goes to play for Chelsea. Are you going to stay friends? Well, maybe you are. Uh, Me, I'm playing for the team I'm playing for. I'll say hello, I'll be polite, but okay, I'm playing for my team.
I don't know if you saw. I'm pretty certain you did the Sunday Times article on Bright's advisors.
Yes. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? And there's been some conversations. What was your involvement with Bright? You had some involvement in the past. I've heard. Were you connected? That's the first part of the question. And number two, how damaging is it for the industry to see businesses like that, go down the tubes and to see all that money lost for clients?
Yeah, I think when you look at that, it's first of all, the article's incorrect. So, if you look at it, I'd read the administrator's report, okay, the previous week, and it's very different. Okay, the Sunday Times was more like the Sun than the Sunday Times. So very sensationalism and actually factually incorrect. So to answer your questions in there, no involvement at all with Bright. So Bright was started by a guy that again came into the industry working for deVere. So he wasn't direct to me. Okay, he worked for somebody that worked for me. So I know of him, not him in particular, but I do know him. He started the company, and I think his ambitions were to produce low-cost solutions. And to do that, he used interactive brokers, which actually is a good platform. So what he was attempting to do sounded like it could be good. Um, Sometimes things that sound too good to be true are. What's happened ultimately on it is that he's then borrowed against the money, and of course, in doing so, then there's been issues which the administrator will obviously ultimately unravel. But if you look at the report, I think the 600 million was invested, and they think there's about 60 million. Isn't there, of which 5% is charges. So 5% is appears to have gone in expenditure in some way or something. But it's very damaging, obviously, because then you've got an administrator comes in, and their fees last month were hundreds of thousands of Australian dollars. So you've got an administrator, massive charges. People just lose faith in the financial industry, and that is sad to see. And it's going to take what, 5 years to unravel? I mean, I mean, how do they work out whose money's who? I mean, it's an omnibus account from what I understand. So, it's money's been purchased for a number of different clients into various different ETFs, etc. But do they take Bright's word for it that, this is, I mean, I've no idea. Complex, and sad for the industry overall. I mean, because it just has a damaging effect. Um, we work and try and improve the industry and its reputation, which in general we do. But every now and again, something happens, I guess, in every industry. But in financial services, it's a bit more stark, and maybe when it's pension money, it's even starker.
Now, thank you for answering that off the cuff question, because it was, off the cuff, but maybe you kind of expected it because it happened at the
I
weekend.
didn't expect it, but no.
Well, you know what I'm like.
Well, no, but you're talking about it to people, obviously. So you say it's off the cuff. It's not. You're not the first person to talk to me about it. Fairly obviously, I think it's just one of those situations that's headlines. I mean, I saw the Sunday Times said 3 billion. Okay, well, there's no 3 billion. But nevertheless, it's a big headline, and of course, you've got all these clients that they're waiting. They've got no idea what's happening.
Yeah, it must be incredibly hard on the client. We did a straw poll. Mark Battersby, our editor, did a really good job, and he went out and he spoke to a few people about what they class as reputable advisors. Your name, or the deVere name, doesn't tend to come up very often when it comes to best practice and reputable advisors. Does that irk you? Does that annoy you? Because internally, from the feedback that we've had, from yourself, things have changed at deVere. So first point is, does it irk you that people never, you don't tend to win best practice awards, and why do you think that is? But do you think that's unfair? Do you think that deVere has changed? Because it's been around a long time, like a lot of companies, there is a past. Do you think it's changed, and if so, why?
I don't think it's changed. I think it's always been extremely good. So when I talk to other advisors, and they show them what we do, they're shocked how good it is. In fact, I had a video call this week with somebody that recruits a lot of people in the industry, and I showed them our systems, and they were like shocked that it was that good. So if you just think that deVere has systems and tech that ensures best advice, so why we don't win best practice is because people unfortunately lack knowledge. So if you looked at our systems, you'd see that we're ahead of any of the banks, any of the investment banks. Literally, our systems internally to be able to give best practice, best advice are 5 to 10 years ahead of anybody else in the industry. And we're just miles and miles in front. If anybody tried to catch up with us, they were too far away. They couldn't catch up with us. So yes, it's surprising that people don't have the knowledge, but then only people internally would have the knowledge. So when you're asking people that are external, that have their view, but what is their view based on? I've no idea. It's based on a guess.
But you say it's systems. Why is that important? Is it not more about the people? And one question look, I've been a financial advisor, right? I was an old school advisor. See that financial advice is supposed to be up there with an accountant, solicitor, that level of knowledge and advice. And really good financial advisors, they put the years into the business. But your company employs people, does a really quite short training course, and then people are out giving advice. Is that still the case, or has that changed? Have things changed around that?
That's never been the case, Gary. So anybody joining the company has got experience. So you'll see again, we have the tech that is second to none to train people. So you go onto our training portal and you have access to every exam in the financial industry. Everybody in the company is fully trained, fully qualified. We do weekly up-to-date training sessions for every single person in the company, as well as doing CPD. So, you've got fully authorized people, all fully qualified in Australia, in New Zealand, in the UAE, right across Europe, and they're all fully qualified across Africa, all fully qualified financial advisors, and many of them chartered. So, they're all qualified in their countries, and some, I mean, I've got a couple that are chartered in, fully qualified in 3 or 4 countries. So you've got highly qualified people, and we don't shout about it. I think perhaps we're not, maybe we're not, maybe we should be more out there talking about how much we do and how good we do it, and the fact of all the qualifications that we have. So if you joined us, you'd be going for a program. You'd have to, in order to be given advice, it will take you 18 months of learning before you can give advice. You'd be qualified. You'd always have compliance checking off your business, but also the reasons why system doesn't allow you to give bad advice. So you have tech behind you, which allows you to access all the products in the marketplace and will only allow you to select products that are right, and actually stops you from doing anything that you can't do. And the drop-down boxes make sure that you give full disclosure on everything to every client. And that's sent to the client as well as given to them, you know, at the point of taking the product. So you're actually dealing with a company that's globally regulated. I mean, think Goldman Sachs has got 37 licenses in the world. We got 32. Okay, they're in a different space than we are, but we are the most regulated international financial advisory group in the world. And I'm probably the most regulated individual in the financial industry. So you can't think of anybody in the financial world that's more regulated than me. So maybe people.
Not in all countries, though, Nigel.
Well, I'm regulated as a.
You're not
I'm a
regulated in.
regulated. Well, I am. I'm the UBO, so I'm regulated UBO, and I'm approved UBO in all of those, for all of those businesses. So, you know, I am regulated. I'm a UBO. I'm a UBO in the UK. So I'm an approved regulated for a large business in the UK. I'm a UBO in Australia. I'm a UBO. So I am regulated. And you can't just be own a company and be approved to run a company unless you've got a good track record. And to have a good track record for a long time with lots of businesses globally. I mean, when you want to check me out, you've got to check out every business I've ever owned. So just imagine the due diligence and the scrutiny that's there. So,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
people perhaps don't give the respect that maybe they should give, because it's a big business that's been extremely successful and actually not had any issues from an advice point of view, administrative issues. And you're talking 21 years. So just think, it's almost impossible in the financial industry. So every company, every bank on Wall Street's had a fine, every single one. So you're bound to do something wrong from an administrative point of view. In fact, it'd actually be suspicious if you'd never been fined, right? So imagine you've gone 20 years and you never had a fine. Okay, people will go, hang on, there's something wrong here if you're in all those countries. So, you know, we've had administrative fines in the past, but, you know what, I think it's 7 in 21 years. It's minor, really. And nothing for advice ever, right? Nothing, zero. We've done well. So, you know, we'll continue to grow and we'll continue to do our very, very best to do the right thing for clients and to grow the business.